like to welcome you who were at the first panel back, and welcome people who have just come to this symposium on Chinese landscapes, organized by Professor Chen and Bassett. I'm Kristin Stapleton from the history department, and I'm delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, who is Professor Kongjian from Peking University, and he also has his own company called Touriscape. He has extensive experience in China and out working in landscape architecture, and he taught at the Harvard Graduate School of Design for some years, and has worked with Professor Bassett to introduce her students to this village of Xixinan. And he's going to begin his talk today to speak a little bit about that and maybe draw on some of the issues that we were talking about earlier in our panel discussion. So join me in welcoming Professor Yu.
Thank you. Well, originally this is not my topic, but after listening to this group's discussion, I want actually insert some of the slides so that you can have some idea about the village and what we are doing. Besides, the Bisan nearby, he only have a Bisan village. We have a village here. It's in very close, half an hour away. So this experiment is another experiment, but it's a different way, different approach. This is a current situation. You can see it's really degrading. All these, it's supposed to be one of the largest villages in this area, but it was burned during the Taiping War. You can see beautiful landscape, the water, it's a heritage, it's hydrological. It's this dike been here for 2,000 years, so we protect it before they channelize it, actually. So the rest of the river being channelized by concrete. Our section, we actually signed contract with them. We rented for 30 years. So this been protected, become part of the campus. This is a village we are working on. We are current situation. You can see beautiful villages, all these cultural heritages, buildings, and tangible and intangible. Huixi, Anhui opera. Anhui opera is the origin of Peking opera. So that's and we talk about the Sitao, about Zhang Daqian. Sitao's painting. He had 8 paintings of this area. It's beautiful about the river. I mentioned as protected by our project also, and it's a special of this place because it's this Beijing location. This is our location. There's a high-speed train station here. 5 minutes just by car, and 15 minutes walk from the station to the village. You can imagine only 1.5 hours from Hangzhou to this village, and 5 hours high-speed train, and no more smog. That's the difference. So the rest of them, all the city, it's polluted, but not these villages. It's away from this because the mountain separates this smog. So we call new ruralism, new countryside movement, or 新象山下乡游。The idea is that we have a speed train now, we have internet now, we have a rich population in the city, and we have bad urban situation. So we need a new movement. So this movement will be against the urbanization. It will be moved to the villages. So that's the whole idea. How can I activate the village and rejuvenate the village, make use of this landscape, become a catalyst for this to create a new urban lifestyle, but in the village. So that's the whole idea. So we have 3. Instead of trying to feed the local village people, we want to create a new industry or new culture and a new vitality in these villages. So that's and the new aesthetics. Here, particularly we mention a new aesthetics. Who asked the question about aesthetic here? Yeah. So we are going to have a new aesthetics. The aesthetic we call big feet aesthetics, not the little feet, tiny feet aesthetics. So it's a rural life, but it's an environmentally sustainable life functional, productive, healthy lifestyle. So that's we call the Wangzan lifestyle. Wangzan, Toyaming, looking to the mountain, write poems, but at the same time, enjoys a rural life. That's the whole idea. There are 4 components to make this work. So first, we want to create a new lifestyle. The new lifestyle is different from the urban bourgeois kind of lifestyle. So this lifestyle will be immersive into this rural landscape, rural villages. This is the current situation, of course. This is a process. We are actually renovating some of the buildings and turn into hotels. We are not nostalgic. We want to give urban residents and this kind of lifestyle. So that's the whole idea. This is a former commune center, now under construction. So that's been done, finished. It's a hotel, but it's a kind of seminar room. So, all this is a hotel room. You can see these are all hotel rooms. These are bookstores. I mean, also we keep all this heritage. This is 50 years red culture. We all here. That's it. So you can have seminar. You can study room. So we keep all this existing untouched, but instead stitching into this modern lifestyle, this modern clean. Because in Huizhou it's very wet and cold in winter and very hot in summer. So you have to solve the problem. You have to create a comfort living here. You see, that's all what we have transformed. But all this, the restaurant just kept untouched. And you can, from the window, you have a dialogue with the local farmer's house here, the vegetable gardens and yeah. And local food. Yeah, local food also. Yeah. And there's all these all professors and have all the activities coming into the villages, the Wangzan lifestyle. They stay in this hotel. And also grow vegetables on the street. So it's a rural landscape, but a new lifestyle. I mean, comfort. You get all urban comfort in these rural villages. So that's one component of the project. We want to rejuvenate by bringing tourists, by bringing people into it, and make a revenue for the so family. I mean, individual families, individual villages. They will cook for the tourists, for people who live here. So they get revenues, they get income also at the same time. And the second important thing is that we want to put a new culture. This culture is design culture, a school. So we founded this called Tourism Academy. The academy is basically that part of the training, becoming international platform. So including the Buffalo student, I guess, right? They actually mingled with the local kids. These are local children. And they learn from the student here, English and drawing and all these things. So students get educated. The local kids get educated also. So we get the academy, photography academy, and all the architecture academy, and all these together. And we're going to put a national geography base here also, Chinese national geography. So photography center and architecture center and all these will be here. So these are all activities happening on this side. See, that's all activities. This is one of the biggest events just happened just a couple of months ago. All these architects, famous architects will come here, have seminars, and get students get involved, local kids get involved. This is your student here. You should be proud of that, Yeah. It's on TV, it's on news also. So that's all these activities, that's our school, the current situation. It used to be a grain barn. So we actually purchased, we actually use very little money to buy this whole property because nobody uses it anymore. So we buy it and renovate it and become classroom and really become, that's our design to transform it. So this is a new school. We hope eventually annual people will be at least 2,000 to 5,000 students be trained on this campus. So that will bring each family at least 1,000 yuan yearly, you know. So that's a lot of income for the local farmers. But at the same time, the students get a very immersive, learning by doing experience in this area. I mentioned it's a Black Mountain College style. The third component is we want to create this kind of cultural, innovative little town as what we are going to do here. Create that the town to develop. Certainly protect these corridors and they cover all these nationally protected buildings, heritage. We recover, restore it. This is from Yuan Dynasty. And that the decaying village will be restored, carefully restored, become a tourism attractive place. And also the water, the corridor, the heritage corridor, and just carefully stitch into the new modern, lifestyle, reversible, separable, but it's really create a very romantic, new kind of life into this area. And being honey, to create honey is very famous in this village. So make it turn into a product. And tea making also, processing tea and integrate with all these local villages, farmers. They also get involved, into all these activities. Students, local food making. And we want to pack these to sell this product, to make them profitable. So villages are involved. So we will have all these turn it into product and pack them and sell and sell on sale. So the farmers will get a benefit, double their benefit by this process. And so the whole idea is that this is a hotel. A local farmer will be mingle, she or he can walk into the lobby of the 5-star hotel. So it's totally immersive to create this kind of social harmony in this village. Now that's his idea, okay? Be able to see the mountain, be able to touch the water, and to have the memory of the past. So that's the whole we want to create the village is a testimony for this idea. So that's as a reference for this the first session about what we're going to, make the village alive again. But my talk today is totally different. This talk will be like I call landscape architecture is a more professional aspect. Is landscape architecture is an art of survival that create deep forms. So your question about what is landscape? Here is my interpretation of landscape. Landscape is not about creating a garden or a lawn or a park. It's about survival. It's about the relationship between man and people. So that so this is the current situation in China. We have flood, we have drought, pollution, habitat loss. 80% of Chinese cities are suffering air pollution. 70% of surface water is polluted in China. 400 cities are in shortage of water. Annual flood costs $100 billion every year, and 50% of habitat get lost. You conventionally, now what the Chinese government are doing right now is that they try to build all this infrastructure to solve this problem. Now building dikes, channelizing the river, building dams, building pipes and sewage plant, all this infrastructure try to solve the problem of flood and drought and water pollution and all these things. Now, these solutions are totally unsustainable because whenever you build a dike and dams, you destroy the river system. Fish disappear, right? People cannot use water. And remember, Chinese, whole China, basically, this morning, you mentioned about this Wuhuanyong line. There's a 400 millimeter rainfall lines. So beyond the east part of this of the line is dominated by the monsoon climate, which means we have only 3 months of rainfall and the rest of them are dry. So somehow, if you drain away the water, you have no water left. So that's why all this infrastructure didn't work and unsustainable. So my idea is that we should consider landscape as infrastructure that can provide all these services, ecological services, which mean producing clean water, producing food, and also which mean regulating dry and wet, flood and drought, and also life supporting, which means you have all biodiversity, and also cultural, spiritual services, including art, inspirations, sacred spiritual connection. So these are services of a landscape which should be considered as an infrastructure. So this kind of infrastructure, this kind of understanding of landscape, which means we need a deep form. The deep form is in contrast with the shallow form. This I describe as a shallow form, which has only the surface perceptual order and lacks the solidarity of coherent process beneath the surface. So that's why I define this is the deep form, this is shallow form. The deep form, which means the human desire, are supported by the underneath by the ecological process. So that's a difference. Landscape, two kind of landscape. Now, two strategies can make deep forms. One is planning to create configurative deep form. The configurative is the relationship between human being and nature. The second is the design and engineering to create transformative deep form, which means nature and the human being are mingled together. It's dripping over, like geography is dripping over. You cannot separate man from nature. So these two strategies. So for the past 20 years, my team, including my university, my school, and the Truthscape, we have practicing all over China, 200 cities in China, to test and to explore these strategies. And I want to quickly go through the planning strategy. Certainly, we're beginning with the national planning, the national thinking. What is green infrastructure at a national scale? And then go all the way down to the urban and community scales to create ecological infrastructure. For example, water. As I mentioned, billions of dollars are spent every year to try to protect the city from being flooded. But actually, we only need maximally only need 6% of land if given to the water. It's just totally, for example, if you destroy all the river, dam and dikes, 6% will be enough for water, which means you can hold all the water on the ground and you have no flood risk. So that's my argument. Why you bother to build all this concrete infrastructure so that we take over all this water space. So that's one argument. In the past 30 years, we keep making such mistake. In the past 30 years, 70% cities, 70% of new city area, urban area, was built in the floodplain. You can imagine. in the floodplain. 70% of GDP and 70% new urban immigrants actually located in the floodplain. And that's the population distribution. So we make a big mistake. The mistake is that we try to get land from water. So the idea is that how can we give only 6% to water and save the city and save the water at the same time. So where to locate the new cities? Because China is have more cities going to build, more people, and maybe 0.5 billion people will have to move into new cities. So here are our suggestions to build cities. Not building on the plain, but building at foothills. To learn from farmers. The farmers, they located the villages on the foothills. They never put on the basin, on the bottom of the basin. So at the regional scale, or thinking of a landscape, is this kind of green infrastructure that will retain water, provide habitat, and also provide bicycle and green transportations, and also protect the heritage. So this creates this infrastructure. And this infrastructure will frame urban development. Instead of exploring like that, following the gray infrastructure, highways, pipelines, all this, that's Beijing exploring. In the past 30 years like that, 4 times, expanded 4 times. So our proposal will be totally different, based on green infrastructure. And the medium scale, which means it is a city scale, 10 square kilometer in size, for example, in this case is Wuhan. Wuhan this year been flooded, totally been flooded. But this not. We did like 8 years ago, and this has been tested successful. So the idea is that we actually can protect, we can keep all this the pond system, which were created by farmers 2,000 years ago, as a regulating, as a remediating water system. So conventionally, people build a city like that, level the ground, filling the pond and lay down the pipes and the drainage system. So we say no, we can actually link all these pond system and integrate with green system and also pedestrian and the bicycle system and develop this area. So this area, in this way, we will have no drainage pipes. Save a lot of money, save a lot of earthwork, but also create a beautiful landscape. So it has a bicycle system, pedestrian system, as a city, as the sections, as built. You can see from this neighborhood all the way to this main corridor for stormwater, and so small also filtrated. Retained pond system, you see, cleansed. So the stormwater will be collected and cleansed and recharges the aquifer. So at the same time, create a landscape enjoyable for the new resident. As the main stormwater corridor. So in this city, we have no pipes. No drainage pipes. Become a model for sponge city. We describe sponge city. So this is the planning. How can we plan the landscape so that human being, man development will be, will not disturb the natural process. At the same time, create a livable city. The second strategy is the design engineering to transform the landscape. The first rule is to make friends with flood. This is a very commonly seen, ubiquitous in anywhere in China. All the rivers channelized like that. It's totally unsustainable and destroys the biodiversity. So that's in my hometown, by the way. In my Jinhua is a city, is a 1.5 million population. So we try to remove all the concrete and create terraces to learn from farmers, to create terraces so that the water can come in instead of block, instead of protect the city from the city, water from the city. Actually, we let water come into it as before, this after, the same side. So this will be 10-year flood, 20-year flood, 30 100-year flood, 50-year flood, 200-year flood. So people can use this space, share the space with water as a design. Yeah, it's resilient. It's resilient. Imagine if you build a concrete wall here, you have no access to the waterfront, and there will be no life, no biodiversity here. As you know, it's full flooded, 100-year flood. You can see come here, but it's also still connected. The city is still active. There's a 20-year flood. It's also flooded, but people look at the people still use this. So many people use the space, and this dry season. So as I mentioned, we have monsoon season. So this is dry. Most of the time is a dry season. So people use this space as a park. So the city becomes resilient, not rigid. So that's the model. And all the design have to be resilient. There's flooded and after flood. So before is after. So that's one kind of project we are trying to solve the China's water flood problems in the past 20 years. The second model, the second principle we developed is to go productive again. In the past 30 years, as Ning just mentioned, agricultural land, 10% of China's most fertile agricultural land got lost. Now imagine that's a big chunk of fertile agricultural field. And China only have less than 8% of fertile land of the global, of the world. When we have to feed 20% of the population. That's what you can see, exploring, taking over the agricultural land, urbanize it. So idea is that how can we recover the productivity of the land? And imagine, all the during the process of urbanization, 50% of the land actually being landscaped as ornamental, I call it little field landscape. Lawns, beautiful flower beds, and it didn't function as anything. Maybe only just beauty or just visually attractive. But what about stormwater management? What about the green? What about production? What about biodiversity? What about other functions that can provide services for the city? So the idea is that we want to recover productivity of the green space. That's collect stormwater, irrigate the field, and we transform the whole campus into a productive rice paddy. It was before, it's after. You can see. There's a rice paddy in the campus. Very productive and irrigated. And at the same time, farmers come in, raise goat. As the goat eat up all these, what's left over from harvesting. And students, professors come here. That's reading in the rice paddy. That's a Confucius idea, by the way. Cultivating mind and cultivating the land. 耕读. Yeah. You're cultivating at the same time you're reading. So that's new aesthetics, by the way, also. Productive, urbanized. Look at it, so happy he is. Yeah, there's a reason, he has a reason to be happy. The professors he go from the classroom all the way to the library on shoes. Remember why he's happy? Because he's on shoes. He's not bare feet. Now, 80% of urban residents today are from farmer family, from rural area. 80%, like myself. So, and I remember when I was a kid, I have to walk on the field bare feet, not in shoes, not in jacket, not in suit. So that's a new aesthetics. When you look at the rice paddy, he will not associate with hard working, with sweating, with labor anymore. He will look at this as aesthetically beautiful. So productive is beautiful. And the process of producing is a natural, is a process, is beautiful experience. It's a new aesthetics, productive, and food also being created by this process. And we replicate this kind of landscape, product landscape, a new aesthetics landscape at an even larger scale. This is a city, Quzhou. You know Quzhou during the Second World War II was as an airport. The American bombed Tokyo and is supposed to land here, but they missed the airplane. I missed the airport. But this is a city in the American map. So that's the current situation. Farmers abandon the farmland because they're not profitable anymore. So these have been abandoned, and we say, why not turn into a farm park, an agricultural park? Because that's agricultural park. It takes just 1 year to recover the land productive, could become a recreational park. And see the buildings come out, flowers in the middle of the city, people just enjoy. It's a productive landscape. Yeah? Look at people. Yeah. 20,000 people every day. 20,000 people every day for a city of 1 million, less than 1 million city. You can see rotating. Yeah, canola flower, sunflower, and also meadow here. And it's at the field. We make use of this repairing, recover this the land for production, but at the same time enjoyable, beautiful space. You see, three yoga teams play every day here. Look at this in the middle of the city. So that's a new aesthetics. Big feet aesthetics, productive, healthy, and lively. The second, as a third, is the values of ordinary. How you can value the ordinary? In the past 30 years, billion square meter of villages been demolished. Just the last session, Ning and others discussed. Yeah, we discussed villages. The same amount, almost the same amount of this demolished and built. The same amount you can see, particularly in 2001. Yeah, so much demolished. We lost the memory. Yeah, we lost the memory. So this is the site. This is the first, by the way, the first project when I went back to China in 1999. It was like that. And the mayor decided to demolish, wipe down, And he told me that when I remove, wipe down, and level the ground, you come here, design a park for us. So I said, no, it's too late. We have to design from here. So we preserve it, and reuse it, and recycle it. It's inspired by some of the projects here in the United States and in Ruhr, in Germany. In Seattle, you got the gas works, which is a pioneer in this field. So we actually preserve it, reuse it, and recycle it. It's all preserved. That's a pre-existing situation. You can see polluted, dirty, flooded, and this skeleton of these industrial rustic structures. So we transform it. We keep all these structures, 1970s and 1980s. Even only 20 years, they are memories of the past. And we design adaptive waterfront, floodable, so that people can go into the water, and the fish can come in. So it just takes 3 years, this area being transformed into a front yard. Used to be a dirty backyard, industrial brownfield, now become a really beautiful front yard. Look at this 5-star hotel. Yeah, there's 3 5-star hotels come up just in the past 10 years. And it's certainly a new aesthetics, wedding here, which means a love this place. So 5,000 couples have weddings on this park every year. A new aesthetics, big feet. Yeah, healthy, strong genes, messy nature, rustic. So this is considered ugly in traditional Chinese landscape. Here we create a new aesthetics, totally different aesthetics. You see machinery, a wedding here, And the spiritual, we want to cover it. Even the past 30 years, we still have the memory. We have to keep the memory. Even the red memory, the red culture. Because that's the design that tells the story of red culture, the red past, Cultural Revolution, steel movement, and all these Pilin Pikong, all this tells a story in a red box. This red box immediately tells a story, okay, it's about the past red culture. This photo was taken in 2000, about 2000. At that time, the Cultural Revolution was very sensitive to mention even. You can see, and at that time also you can see it's wearing a red scar is a special, which means you have to behave good in order to wear a red scar. So these two kids, very good, in the middle. So that's meaning of, but spiritually, it's interesting. It's a cultural past, how we can celebrate it, and how can we memorize it, how can we learn from it. So that's interpretation of the site. So that's a normal, everyday landscape, ordinary. Not just, we always treasure something 5,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. But what about the past, yesterday? So yesterday is also part of this memory, also part of the culture. And the four module or four principle is that how can we minimize the intervention and maximize the return? Use minimum design. Usually, conventionally, as I mentioned, the engineer come here, channelize the river, and the landscape gardeners come here to decorate it. In this case, the river corridor, we do just very little, only a bench, and the rest of them, it just keep intact. So that's bench, 500-meter long bench, only 60 centimeter wide, integrated with the boardwalk, with the board, and also lighting system. So the idea is that one little ribbon can make messy beautiful. So that's a messy nature, a ribbon suddenly attract the surrounding community, the surrounding people. Look at these, they come here, the rural farmers, they come attractively because they feel gentrified, they feel uplifted, feel urbanized and modernized. And this is, watch out, the three ladies here at the morning, at the night. That's still it was before, it's after. Yeah? Messy, it's before, dirty, but now, yeah. So very little touch. This is before, this is after, in the night. This is a minimum intervention, but maximize the return to keep the assets of nature as much as possible and create a new lifestyle. The fifth case, the fifth rule is to create a sponge city. Yeah, as I mentioned, we cannot afford to drain away all the storm water. We have to keep it. So the idea is to create sponge city. By the way, the sponge city now become a movement in China because it's been picked up, the word been picked up by Xi Jinping. So he said, we're going to build a sponge city. So in next 20 years, 10 years, by 2030, 80% of urban area should be sponge city. That's the agenda for the Central Communist Party. So that, and it started from here, actually, start from here. So you can see at the current, that every city, almost every city in the east part is suffering from this storm urban innovation. The idea is to learn from farmers. Now we are talking about Pearl River Delta areas, Ning just talked about. It's a very rich Daikan pond system. But 5,000 years ago, here was a marshland, delta area. So by this very simple cut and fill, we create a productive landscape. Agricultural, fish, and mulberry. Mulberry, they create silk, produce silk. So it's make an inhabitable, hostile landscape habitable and beautiful. So we learn from that and transform into an urban landscape by very simple cut and fill, create a sponge, yeah, and filtrating system. So this is dirty water and clean water. So it's by running through this pond system, the sponge system, we can actually create a landscape, a sponge landscape, as this was before, as after. As today you can see the sponge system filtrating. As a year later, abundance of vegetations come because all the water run off are nutrient rich. They have nitrogen, there's phosphorus, they're rich in nutrient. And all this has been taken away by these vegetations. So there's a sponge filtrating above, people enjoy. As a year later, you can see filtrating system. 2012, 2014, but imagine 2 years, just 2 years, how much been developed surrounding this sponge. Just 10 years. Just 2 years. This area suddenly becomes the most valuable place, most in terms of real estate. Here, it becomes the most expensive area. And the messy sponge here. Above, people can use it. Bird watching. All birds being attracted in the middle of the city. So that's the sponge idea. And this sponge, this park can use 10% of urban space. 10% will be enough to solve the problem of flood, urban flood. I mean, rainfall from this local, not from regional flood. So it's a model. So it's to say that we can replicate this model and you solve the problem without concrete. The sixth module is to use landscape as a living system to cleanse the polluted water. I mean, polluted is just because they are nutrient rich. All the chemicals, all the fertilizer run into the lake, into the river. And this used to be fertilizers by farmers. If back 20 years ago, we'll be very happy because they are nutrient rich. We will just use water to irrigate the rice paddy and vegetables. But today, because of this mechanical industrial idea about chemical fertilizer and produce it, so it's a linear. So when they close the cycle, how to close the cycle? Use the landscape. So the landscape function as a living system to clean the water, dirty water, clean water. As 1 mile running of the water will create a clean water. As in Shanghai, by the way, in Shanghai, I think you visited this park. So it's very dirty. You can see. The idea is to learn from farmers. So it is related to farmers. So it's one learn from farmers because farmers know how to use minimum energy to produce fields and to irrigate the crop and fertilize it. So that's the idea. We transform the fertilization process and irrigation process into water cleansing process. So that's the process of terraces, the cleansing area, cascade wall to create oxygen as a cascade wall. It's a landscape, beautiful landscape. Cascade, oxygenized. As the water oxygenated, fertilizer, and nurturing the vegetation, lush vegetation coming. So that's a pre-existing situation. There's a process, building terraces, and today this one only take 2 years to become lushly vegetated and productive at the same time. Use rice, use sunflowers, use canolas, use corns, and again, attractive. This, again, is a new aesthetics based on productivity, both based on this ecological process. And the water run out clean, see, crystal clean. So this park, which has 3 hectares of wetland, can produce 2,400 cubic meters of water can be used by 5,000 people daily. You can see people also enjoy it. As you see, before is after. They're just running through this Huangpu River. Very dirty, you see? Clean water produced. And we test it. We measure it. So design the landscape is a part of science. Actually, you can collect data. You can harvest the data. You see the TOD or TO total phosphorus and total nitrogen drop dramatically. And this idea of green sponge or living system can also be used to remediate soil contamination. In China, 60% of the urban soil is polluted, is metropolitan area, like that. And in this case, it's in the middle, is the center of Tianjin, is heavily contaminated, and also particularly it's alkaline soil. It's a pH equal to like 9, above 8. So the idea is that we create a sponge to collect stormwater, because stormwater is acid, the stormwater. So when you mix the dirty, the alkaline soil, it's actually even it, create habitat for all native biodiversities. So that's the idea, to create pond system. Learn from farmers again, and catch the stormwater, and then change the pH, and eventually create habitat for biodiversity. At the same time, create a massive native habitat for people to enjoy. So that's the new aesthetics. You never find this aesthetic in Chinese traditional landscape, Chinese traditional garden. So this is new. And also at the same time, as I mentioned, also increase biodiversity and reduce pH, and this value change. Percentage of native species also change. And all these green solutions we apply at an even larger scale. This is a river, more than 10 kilometers long in Hebei's Tangshan city, Chen. So we cover like that. Stormwater catching. The river become clean again, and the air elimination of the river. There's this whole idea that catches stormwater and create a greenways system. And in the 1980s, in the 1970s. So in the 1980s, the river already been destroyed, and then we recovered. Create a deep form. Underneath is a natural system. Above it is a human desire, human need. This was before, is after. Yeah. So that's the river, the whole river system. So if we can transform a river, you can also transform the whole city. So this is the current situation of Liupanshui city. It's a city in West China, Southwest China, polluted, dumped, stormwater problem, runoff, concrete channelized river, everywhere. The same problem. But for this city, about 600,000 population, and we create this greenway system and a sponge system, integrate them together, catch a stormwater, and create a sponge system. This was before, is after. It was before, and 2 years later. Slow down the process. So water, instead of channelize, instead of speed up the process, the water, we slow down the water. By slow down the water, we actually let nature have the chance to take up all the nutrients, the pollution, and also developing this vegetation, and also attracting people. You see, and become park, become a very beautiful park for the, and also enjoyable. Water become clean again by this whole process of cleansing system, and also connected. To learn from farmers. So today, all the projects, I get inspirations from peasantry, from the land and the peasantry. So that's the origin, that's the cover, that's the origin of landscape. And what about buildings? Now, these are the current situation in China. We have about 40 billion square meters of buildings built in the past 30 years. But only 1% of them is energy efficient. 99% of them are just so wasteful. Air conditioning, ventilation, and besides the poor air, you have to close all the windows, you have the air conditioning. So that's cost 1/3 of energy consumption of whole China. You can imagine. So the idea is that we can make a green building. We can turn our living environment into green, energy efficient buildings. So collect stormwater and solar energy and irrigate the balcony. So the balcony become a greenhouse, productive greenhouse. And also the rainwater will go into the building. So we'll create a living wall. We transform the wall into an air conditioning wall, which will cool off the whole building. That's a balcony, productive vegetable, is stormwater harvested, these are gardenia, fragrant balcony is my living room here, is my own apartment, that's it. As interior, inside the wall. So the wall is a living wall, air conditioning. This whole summer, I don't need to turn on air conditioning. No air conditioning in summer and no humidifier in the winter because very dry in Beijing. It's very dry. So usually people use humidifier to create to increase humidity. Here, in this case, we have no humidifier, and in this case we save 2,000 kilowatts of energy, 2,000 kilowatt every year, and you see it's natural wall. It's basically naturally evolving. It's not the wall you usually see on the in the airport. In the airport you have beautiful green wall, but those walls are ornamental wall. Those are you need air conditioning, you need the light, you need water, you need the fertilizer, you need to maintain. But in this case, deep form, no fertilizer, little maintenance, very little maintenance, just irrigated, just stormwater, circulating stormwater, and it's evolving, moss, ferns, and today like that. By the way, this wall can produce geosmell. Geosmell is 土气. The geosmell is a gas produced by when water meets the rock, and this gas can cure depression. It's a cure for depression. So this really create a really enjoyable place. My mother, 90 years old now, she lives with me. Every day he just sit here and smell the rock, the geosmell. And become a learning center for community learning centers. They come here every month, to learn from everywhere. Some from other cities come to visit my apartment to learn how can they transform their own individual house. This was on fashion magazine. This apartment was in the fashion magazine. Now, so that's one little change. Can solve a huge problem. As I mentioned, if all the families, if all the buildings are green buildings, we can save 1/3 of energy consumption. And we can demolish at least 10 three-quarter plants like that. They produce the same amount of energy. So that's the whole idea about how can we create green, beautiful national landscape. And I produce 32 kilograms of vegetable every year and collect 52 tons of stormwater. So if you can collect stormwater, you will have no, if individuals, everyone collects stormwater, we will have no urban flood at all. So all the water will be recyclable and usable for the city. So I mentioned we act like a peasant, but we think like a king. Right? These are our landscape maker. In China, farmers, a very simple tool to create the landscape. the Pearl River Delta landscape, the mountain terrace landscape, the Great Plain farm field. So that's by this little tool. Simple, simple. There's nothing complicated. That's my team. We have 500 designers working together to learn from farmers. But we think like a king to transform the whole landscape in China. This is what I mean, creating deep form, the art of survival. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Yeah. We have 1 hour just.
Oh, what is the name of the university that you showed early on? Oh,
Landscape Academy.
oh okay.
So my firm is called Landscape. So that I separate established this academy, which is a non-profit education institute.
And you also showed the Shenyang Jianzhu University, right?
Yeah, that's the Shenyang Jianzhu University.
That was amazing.
Oh, you mentioned maybe that one? Yeah. The landscape?
Yeah, sure.
It's right, Patty?
Yes.
沈阳建筑大学
Oh, okay.
沈阳建筑 University.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. I'm just like wondering, is it cost efficient for the green wall in your apartment for like promoting and application for massive housing like in China?
It's a very cost efficient.
Okay.
Because you can see the wall, it didn't change anything, but you have to do some waterproof insulation. The rock is just a limestone, porous limestone. Yeah. I was thinking about that. It become good business model. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, yeah.
So you were talking about how to, the 6% of the land area of China could sort of given up for this floodplain and sort of this foot of the mountain kind of strategy that you talked about. So one of the issues that come up in say places like New Orleans is when those cities, with sort of cultural landscape, so to speak, are in place, there's this kind of improve or abandon sort of conversation that happens. How is there? I'm sure a similar thing happens in China as well. I just want to hear your thoughts about that.
You mean New Orleans? What's the solution for New Orleans? You mean?
Well, sort of can you move the whole city to higher ground, and then the pushback becomes, well, there's a heritage city, sort of it's hard, sort of, there's always it's a difficult equation, so to speak,
No, I think it's difficult because of mentality. It's not difficult at all. I was in New Orleans, by the way, the day before. I talked at the Tulane University. We have a much heated discussion. The reason they bring me there is because they think they're doing it wrong. The Army Corps built the wall, right? The Army Corps, a strong wall. But this wall will somehow will break sometime. Huh? New Orleans, the problem of New Orleans today is, besides, it's okay if you build a wall like the Dutch build a wall, right? But what we are trying to do here is urban flood, urban inundation, which means water comes from inside. It's not come from outside. So you have to solve the problem of the water come from the sky. Now, what New Orleans right now they are doing is that they have the same idea 20 years ago. They have the plan 20 years ago, before the Katrina. They already have the plan to lay down this drainage system, build pipes, build a huge concrete drainage underneath the water, underneath the ground, and you need the pumps to pump out the water. Now that's not sustainable at all. And number one, They spend $1 billion just for 3 these drainages. For $1 billion, I can solve the problem. Whole city, not a stranger. That's why I have a friend, David Wagner. He's a graduate from Yale, but he's a very huge, very good practice. That's the reason we share the same idea. Maybe we should convince the government to use this solution, because there are huge lands there. You know, they're low density compared to Chinese city. American city are very low density. At your backyard, you can create a stormwater downswell. Can easily solve this problem. You don't have to build this kind of drainage, because when the wall breaks, all the drainage will not function at all, right? So these drainage only function when you are, protected from the flood. But how can you protect from urban inundation? Just this solution. Yeah, you only have less than, I would say, 2,000 millimeter rainfall. Yeah, I would say 10% or 15% of sponge will be enough to solve the problem. But you have huge amount of land there, vacant land, yeah, I think that we have the same problem. We think America are far beyond us, but actually you still have this Army Corps. You still have this engineer man try to solve the problem by strong machine.
Hi. Oh, okay. We're trying to go. So my question basically is, as you had just mentioned, we all have this Army Corps mentality, and as future architects and planners, a part of me is really curious as to what you would suggest is the most important thing that we should learn here as students. How should we improve or adapt our education system here while we are here, so that we make smarter decisions, I should say, and not Army Corps decisions.
Well, I think that's first of all, the Army Corps was too strong, right? That's powerful. Maybe you need a lobby. It's an American system. You have to go to lobby for this solution. Well, in China, it's a different way. In China, what I do is we convince the top leader, the decision maker. Here, maybe you cannot. It make no sense just convince the mayor. You have to convince the business, the Army Corps, and the public. I think the public maybe or go to the street to protest this kind of stupid engineering solution. That's America. In China, it's not help just go to the street. You have to go to decision makers. So somehow you see my project large scale and easily done in 2 years, 3 years. Some people amazed. It's simply because maybe only 10 of my project being executed. 90% of them being killed by the decision makers. So whenever successful, because I convince the mayor, convince the decision maker, make it done. Yeah. So in your situation, in this democratic system, I think number one, go lobby the decision maker to change the mind. The second, educate the public, because you get a vote. You have votes.
So are you suggesting that political science should be at least some course here?
Very important.
Okay.
Yeah, very important. So first thing I went back to China, I did is I write a book. And the book is a collection of a series of my television lectures. And the television is broadcasting to mayors, to ministers even. And this book is called Talk to Mayors. Letter to Mayors will be come out by a New York firm. It's called Letter to Mayors, in English version. But as a Chinese version is Road Urban Landscape. Road to Urban Landscape. Yeah, I definitely. Politics is certainly so important here. Yeah? Yes?
Right here.
Got one question here and then
Yeah.
first here.
This is a very extensive solution that's proposed. What does this do in terms of like public displacement, especially at such a rapid time scale?
Excuse me, what's the question?
So like that scheme right there, that looks like you're putting in a lot of
Excessive, yeah.
yeah. In terms of like residents and where they would go, this seems like a dense area. What does that do for?
No, this is a design to show that where it's available. We're not relocate people. It's go into this neighborhood, is green space, it transforms green space, yes. When I work, this morning I work all over here. You have such a huge open land, you can easily use it. Yeah, and in this case, very dense, but this is just diagram. Yeah.
Hello. So you mentioned one point. We did a design studio last semester. We designed an urban design studio. We worked in the Xishan village in China. Xishan, yes. So one of the points that faced me is what really the village people need. As you mentioned, like one of the things we heard that Xishan was invested by like a businessman, and so he's thinking about a new vision for the village. But now this is like, how do you deal with what the decision maker needs, and what's the look like the residents need? We were able to hear from the investor, but we couldn't hear from the villages, the people itself. So how do you deal with these issues? Like, as you said, the system is different here than in China.
Actually, the village today is become more like American because the villagers actually because they don't care, you know. So villagers, you really have to be convinced, almost individual villagers, to work to make this happen. They always, you know, they don't always understand what you're doing sometimes, right? So you really have to somehow, first of all, you have to, you know, each village have a kind of lineage system. Yeah, Ning just mentioned, it's a lineage system. You have families, the same family, you know, they have very good relationship. So you have to know the system. You have to really talk to the village head or family head to make them to be supportive. In this case, we really spend a lot of time to make the local villagers happy. For example, you need to give them the contract to do the building. If somebody else to do the contract, to do the building, they have no chance to earn, you know, money, right? So they will be, so we close the door. I mean, they close the street. They will cut the electricity, they cut the water. So that's what happens. So in this case, we actually hire local farmers to build this house, to build this interior and this, yeah. So you have to work with local villagers. They want to, because as I said, they're poor, they want money, they want income. Yeah, they're simple, understandable. So how can you know, my idea, your idea, how can be, you know, at the same time make them benefit? Yeah, that's important in Chinese village today. It's because the government cannot, today the government not so simple now. Before, the government is just so powerful they can remove the village, right? But today, it's more sensitive now. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I will welcome you to your visit the village again. So it's transforming. It's going to be very fast. Now we have a whole team, and we have a provost. He's a English, totally a Caucasian English man. He is now become provost. Actually, we have a cooperation with Pan, we have Buffalo, of course, with GSD, with many, with USC, South California University. We have all these studios pouring in and make this active again. Yeah, very active now.
Very interesting project. I have a question about, how do I say? So the examples that you showed us are basically along like rivers or close to ponds. Do you think this can be extended to like the whole city? Like, for example, Wuhan that you mentioned.
Yeah.
If this will be extended to the whole city, then you will have those ponds, right? They water retaining ponds everywhere in the city, like green gardens. And in that case, do you think the elevations for cities like Wuhan or Beijing, which are pretty flat, can you think the water can really, flow like that with the terrains you design?
Yes, I show Wuhan case. We have all this pond system. It's all about this detailed design. You don't have to flow. You can cap it. The charge aquifer. Yeah, you don't have to connect it. Don't
yes,
have to.
But you have the terrains, like
Yeah.
the filtering system, right?
Yeah.
If the elevation does not change enough, I mean the variation is not big enough, then can you still design a system like that to filter water? Like those?
Yeah, you don't need so much elevation change. You don't need so much. 1 centimeter will be enough. It just slow down the process. You don't want to need like flow like a creek. You don't have to. So in this case, very little subtle change. You create this pond, but still the water can zip through this the dike system. The dike is a special design. It's a filtrating system. Yeah, very little change will be fine. Yeah, we have so all the cases. Yeah, I mean, it different depend on is a design, is a part of landscape technology. Yeah.
Hello. Hey. So I was one of the students on the study abroad trip in China, and it was really exciting to see how much Xishinan has changed. What I'm curious about is after you introduced all these interventions and bringing all these visitors and people from outside, how have they began to interact with some of the locals?
How they, as I mentioned, you guys, did you interact with the local kids?
Yeah, we did. We got to play with them for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the way. So you need food, right? So farmer will cook for you. You buy from the farmers, individual farmers. We want to build like a Uber, like Airbnb, right? We want to build a system that each family they can cook one dish, a special dish. You want fish or pork, you just order. So send it to your dormitory, or send it to your hotel. And so that's a way of interact by business, is a business model, is by business solution. And socially, kids will connect to the teachers, high school, middle school, kindergarten. They come into your classroom, interact with you, and that's another way of connecting. Yeah. And we also have a contract. We have a corporate relationship with the villager, a committee actually. I mean, Twinscape have contract with them, which means whenever we get some profit, we will share with the local, with the committee. So it's a business model. But we build into the social ideal is built into the business model. So that's I think it can make work. Otherwise, it's just nostalgic or just a romantic idea. It really have to make it sustainable. Yeah. Beneficial. I mean, for local people, you must make them feel that they can their life can become better. Or either we can hire local girl to become part to provide services, or or give them the contract to do the labor and earn money. Right? So it's either way. So this will be build the relationship. Yeah. We have celebration, New Year celebration together, social also. The whole team work on that right now. It become a really expanded.
Hi there.
Huh?
In the examples you've shown, it's really inspiring to see that nature can come back and really reinvent a space within a 2 to 3 year time period. I was wondering how long, in some of the examples you've shown, the actual process to rebuild these spaces takes.
To rebuild, you mean?
To clean up, to
how long take?
re-landscape, yeah.
Well, in this case, it takes 3 years. I mean, this case just within the boundary. In some case, need 5 years maybe. Yeah, but never beyond 5 years. In all the cases, actually, very quick. The reason for very quick because the mayor won't have a 5-year term, right? That's good. He wants to see result.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was really fascinating. So I had a question about the longevity of these projects. You had mentioned that you were looking at these as more long-term solutions to the problem of flooding in cities. I was curious, first, if in general a lot of these projects were wholly private or wholly public, or was there a public-private kind of a partnership going on there? And then second, is there, are you involved in any kind of future plans for these kinds of, massive projects that have such a huge impact? How are these municipalities or mayors planning for these in the future? So in terms of maintenance, in terms of, how do they keep this going?
That's a very good question. In this case, for example, this is my earliest build project. It's built 15 years ago. The first project in China got the ISO award, the American Society Award. And this has been nominated as one of 10 best urban park in the world, together with New York Central Park, together with England's Hyde Park. This is one in China, the only one. And this has been kept very well. You can see it's really maintained very well. The reason is that I keep contact with this, mayor, very good relationship, and I tell them what to do. In some case, it's not well kept. You're right. Like Shanghai Park, maybe you visited. Some part have been closed because they don't want people to touch the dirty water, Shanghai Park, because the first part is dirty water, which is against what we want this thing to do. We wanted people to see the process. But they just shut down because they don't want to take the risk of being. And also the maintenance is a problem, a huge problem. It's because people don't know how to maintain this kind of landscape. For example, the people are easy to maintain this kind of landscape because they're trained like that. All the ornamental horticulturists know how to do it. But how to maintain a messy nature is difficult. It is difficult. So in this case, for example, this park, it is a beautiful park, of course. But now today, because massive use of this place, it become barren. Some grass is not well kept, and they put these speakers, loud speakers, and all this music and all this. So totally uncontrollable, in some case. Yes, so this really need a new generation of maintenance education at the same time, which out of my control. But what we can do is really have to follow up, to keep good relationship with the managers and mayors. It will help. Yeah. Good? Yeah, Ning?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And it's both a timely and inspirational presentation. In our city, we've lost half our population. We have a good deal of vacant lots to manage and maintain, and we have a stormwater system that is combined with our sewer system, and we are under a consent decree to fix it. So to use your Army Corps analogy, we have defeated the gray system solution and have developed an approach that will green infrastructure of the city. The next debate we have is something you just touched on, and I'd like you to drill down on a little bit, which is that that landscape is not something that anyone has any experience maintaining. And the people that are now terrified are the ones who think they're going to have a whole city of new parks to maintain, and they can't maintain the parks they've got. So the resistance to green infrastructure is, oh my God, I got to mow it all, and of course the answer is no. But the simple-minded notion that I just let it go, I plant smart and walk away, will ultimately defeat itself.
Yeah.
So where do you send your city crews to school to learn how to do this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, and how do you get them to a level of comfort in terms of persuasion about the kind of maintenance? Because it's not more, it's different, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very good question. By the way, I would say 6 years ago, I translated your book. I haven't mentioned, yeah. The urban design saver. And until yesterday, I know that he's the author. So that's a great honor. It's wonderful. So we have this book, Urban Design Savers Handbook. It's in Chinese.
Imagine my surprise to see it's translated into Chinese.
So I organized a couple of my students translate at least 20 books, including Bob's book. This morning, I really make about 10 miles jog. I follow all the homestead, the park and these greenways. I think about that question. You have urban flood problems? Do you have an urban inundation problem? Yes. And it can be easily solved by this way. I would say easily solved. Because you have such big lots, have such big backyard, have such big greenway system. You just transform it, just need very little. Yeah. We need a new aesthetics. It's messy. How can turn the messy into beautiful? So that, I think, is a transformation of aesthetics. That's the American law. It's controversial. Been debated for 20 years at least about American law. It's actually, in many ways, it's not good, but it's American tradition. But you have such a big sideway. You have such wide. Also the lawn can be easily transformed into productive, messy nature. But that's not enough. I think you need some kind of this minimum art. Frame it. Turn messy into orderly messy, not natural messy. I think that will make great difference. But still, that's a new aesthetic. Need education. Need a change of taste. Instead of bearing, this long. You need a lush, diverse, and harvestable. That's what I learned from farmers. Farmers productive, but they don't invest much compared to long maintenance. Farmers, agriculture needs less maintenance than long. You can imagine. So consider city as a farm. You will solve the problem.
I'll send them to you for that conversation.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So this will just be the conclusion of a very interesting day that we've had. I'd like to just thank Ning, Elisabeth, also our discussants, And thank you, Dr. Yu. I think this was a great way to sort of conclude the day in a discussion of landscape. I think you've totally answered this question of the way we have to think about landscape as a new aesthetic. And part of it is also the big question of nature culture. I think you frame it in a very interesting way because for the longest time that contradiction is something that we keep racking with in different ways. So the lawn is fundamentally an interesting problem, which is culture imposed on nature. And so many of your solutions here suggest this kind of constant struggle, but I also am quite engaged with the way you engage the local political system in order to move and maneuver this. So thank you very much for the talk, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.